And the one that we went now, me and Johnny booked it in 1 month and a half, like crazy people. And it went much more, much better. And now we cannot stop doing this because I love actually have an OCD. I think I love just sitting there for days and making people answer to my emails. I haven't even called their moms yet.
My guest on today's episode is Amie Makris. Amie fronts the Athens, Greece-based band Godsleep. Godsleep first hit my radar in 2019 when I was looking for Greek bands to put on the Global Garage playlist. They had released their second album, Coming of Age, the year previous, and it was the first album with Amie on vocals. Flash forward to earlier this year, and I'm getting ready for Desert Fest Berlin when I see that they were added as a fill-in after some other bands had to drop. Naturally, I had to check out their show, and holy shit, what a live performance. It was electrifying. Probably one of my favorite sets that weekend, and let me tell you, there were some phenomenal sets that weekend. Earlier this year, they also released their fantastic third album, Lies to Survive, which we end up chatting about in this episode, as well as a seminal shoegaze album. Let's make a mixtape. Amie, thank you so much for joining me today and helping me to make this mixtape. You picked a opening track from a genre-defining album, Loveless by My Bloody Valentine. The track is Only Shallow. Tell me, why did you pick Only Shallow?
That was a hard question because, you can think of, I think, a million different options.
Yeah.
But I think because it's like their only album. Maybe they had before two, I think, EP or something, EPs.
Mm-hmm.
This album actually came and everything after this was destroyed. The company, the band, the personalities, I think that they did this whole thing because it was too much effort on this album. And I picked this because it makes me feel like I love the dreamy vibe that makes you feel like you're floating, in space. And every time I want to listen to this album, I never actually listen only to the first song. I put the whole album and I want to make it as a ritual. I have to be really comfortable and really on my own and have the good sound system, around me and everything, because it's more like a ritual. This is why I picked this opening track. And I really like shoegaze. I enjoy these sounds that you feel like they could be from everywhere in your head, It's like very psychosomatic as an experience for me. That's why I picked that.
Yeah, they really, I was reading up on some of the recording process. It sounded like it took several years and several recording studios, and Kevin Shields was very particular about getting the sounds that he wanted. And it was interesting how they took the approach of vocals as a texture, as just another instrument, which is definitely a very common way of thinking about vocals. But I think, more so, I think when you get to harsher metal almost, where you have harsh vocals like black metal and stuff, the vocals become more of a texture. But really they integrated that so well because Belinda wanted to make it kind of dreamy and sleepy, and they really got that vibe. I can see why you make it a ritual. It definitely is such a mood of a record, and that the space that they're able to create with it. Yeah.
And also it's interesting because I don't know if they were a small band at that time. I'm not sure. I mean, they weren't a big band, I think, because they had very little to show. So the fact that a company like a record company it trusts you, to gives you the space and says yes, let's do it, and then with your character and your maybe need for experimentation, which especially nowadays, we don't even get this time. Like, even it's unimaginable to say, I'm gonna have a studio and be there for like the next 2 years experimenting on stuff and having sound engineers coming and going, and also like on that song, and I think in general on the song, in the songs in the record, they had this curtain that you couldn't see the control room, you know. So the sound engineer on the other side couldn't listen to what they were recording because, you know, it was like a space just for those two people that were in that room. And every time they had something that they liked, they opened the curtains and they were like, we got something. So the sound engineers have to look at the tape to see when they stop and what's going on so they can take it back without even listening to it. So on the one hand, this sounds very spoiled to me.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you know, it's like you get the time to do what you really want to do. And sometimes it's the only way to have your space and your time to do it. And I think this album also, I mean, proved itself. I don't know if the band proved itself, but the album as an experiment,
Yeah,
I think it was successful, whatever they did.
it definitely stood the sands of time and has, yeah, I mean, I think, was it Billy Corgan basically said that he ripped off My Bloody Valentine for one of the, at least one Smashing Pumpkin song in particular, but it definitely has a classic lasting feel. But the sound, I mean, you wouldn't tell it was necessarily recorded in the early 90s. How long did it take you to put together Lies to Survive?
It's funny because sometimes the process can be really disturbing, you know.
Yeah.
Not for everybody in the band, but we came back from the tour 2019 and we were fully in the mood to go and do this thing. And we had some ideas and riffs, and then quarantine came, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
So we were working 2 songs for like 1.5 years, only 2 of the album. And we were like overanalyzing them, and we even recorded these songs, I think, before we actually went to record the whole album. So we had like 2 songs for like 1 year in our hands, and we still had nothing, but we had a deadline for the previous, I think, October of 2021, I think. We started recording it, October to November. But until September, we had no other songs. So, and we had no time actually to compose the songs. So I don't know what kind of a miracle that was, that we actually wrote all the rest of the songs in 1 month.
That's absolutely incredible. Wow.
It's insane, I think. I don't know. We didn't even have time to think about it. So it is what it is. And the fact that there are many genres, you know, in the album, and we didn't even got, it's like you get really primitive feel of what you have, just put it out there, each one does the same, and then something comes up. And we did the pre-production in 1 hour. It wasn't even a pre-production, actually, to say. We were like, next day we're going in the studio, so we just have to do a rehearsal of whatever we know, because we've never played the songs before, like, as a band. We wrote it piece by piece. And then when the recording started, was our producer was laughing so hard, like, you are so fucking unprepared to do this, but somehow you managed to do it, and we did it, however. So many of the elements got, you know, like an improvisation during the recordings, even the whole song. I mean, the first song was really fun to write because the producer couldn't understand a heck of it. Like, it was like, this is like 3 different songs. You cannot put it together. It makes no fucking sense. We're like, okay, let's don't call it a song. Let's call it an intro of whatever. I don't know. Like, put it in there. So it was like making a puzzle very quickly and playing a game, because we already were working. We were outside of of Athens to record the album. So our guitarist John, I think he went back and forth in Athens and did this, you know, route every day for 25 days. He was driving after his work to record or to be there, and then going back and then doing this for 25 days. So the way it was recorded, it was pretty surprising to us, but fun. But stressful, and
Yeah.
I really wish I had some time, but sometimes you don't get to have it.
I mean, the record turned out amazing, and the fact that you were able to write so many songs in 1 month and just went into there without having really fully rehearsed as a band or any road testing. I mean, that's incredible. It's almost like the opposite of Loveless, where they were kind of
Exactly.
nitpicking for years. So. So Lies to Survive has a bit of a different feel than Coming of Age. Anything that kind of contributed to that in any way or another?
Sure, many things. The first thing was the addition of our new drummer, Dennis Panagiotis, who I think is like, I don't say it because he's in my band, but he's like one of the best drummers, I think, in Greece right now. He's a multitasker, he plays other instruments. He actually put us more in a more, not just go jam and drink beers, which is great, and it's my favorite, of course, but let's try to take it a step further. That was one. The second was on the first album with me, because it was another album before me with another singer. I was trying to adjust to the prior singer, trying to see, because that was not exactly my scene, my kind of style. And I loved it, but it wasn't, like something I was more into the indie rock, pop, dreamy stuff, and then metalcore.
It's interesting bringing that up. That first record, I mean, definitely has that really kind of traditional stoner sound, and then the elements that you bring are definitely going in different directions. So it was cool to see you at Desert Fest Berlin. You definitely stood out a little. You had all of those elements that fit so well with the Desert Fest lineup, but you have this really defined sound that I think in the last couple records you've really started to define, and I think it stands out.
I think actually I really don't know if what I do it well. It's more intuitive, and I feel like I have to serve each song separately.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that is like a good marketing. Someone would say, okay, this is very clever you're doing. You're playing all the kind of shit that come in your mind, and we don't know where to put you, because a funny moment was someone wrote for us that we are playing weird stoner. So if they still try to put you this, like mark of the stoner, because you started there and they have to make you fit some place, it becomes this weird stoner. For me, it's not stoner, the new album, of course. Maybe have some the previous one, most of the songs were already written by the previous members, so I went and I adjusted and just wrote some stuff, and that felt okay, and I didn't even know what I was doing. So on the second one still, but I was more myself, I believe. And I think also the guys, Vedanas and Johnny, guitar bass, which are the founding members of the band, they tried a lot to change the way, and this, how you say, the blues scale, this pentatonic scale, every song starts with a C, and it's like all kind of the same. They really tried and did an effort to serve the song and the lyrics and everything.
It comes through. I think I see it as a really good sign of success when you put together a batch of songs and they're all a little bit different, but when you listen to them as an album, it sounds like they belong. But if you can't pigeonhole something, I think it's like a nice that really shows that you're honing in on what is your sound and what makes you unique as a unit of musicians. And I think that's really special. So it's cool to see that, I think, coming through, especially if people can't necessarily pin you down.
I hope we get better on that, and we find ourselves more and more on every new experiment venture.
Do you feel like it's opened you up to playing with bands in other genres? Like, have you kind of noticed the bills that you're playing with, are they expanding beyond that kind of initial stoner sound? Are you playing with more indie bands or more post-punk bands? And
I'm not sure if I have come to a conclusion to that, because we just went on tour and supporting 1,000 Modes and also doing our own shows. And it's still under an umbrella of stoner, because this is how they know you. Maybe in the festivals now in the summer, we had some more collaborations, let's say, with indie or other. I don't know, because this is not only coming from us. It's also the wish of a guy of a promoter. Let's say I want to do a festival. So their minds have to be more open, I think, on that aspect, and let more genres, come. And I think maybe they have started doing it. Even agencies that they have been watching, they had in the beginning a more, strict set of artists. And as the time moves along, I see different kinds of music, different kinds of styles. I like that. I don't know. I think it has all these go together, kind of. But of course, when I sent to book a show, and I see a post-punk group, I probably know that nobody will want us to open for them, let's say, because the sound maybe of us would be much heavier and more strong, and then they will come and they will sound not worse, but festivals it's easier, of course, but it's on their own.
what's the scene like in Greece? Is there a lot of musical activity going on these days, or is it mostly you find yourselves going outside of Greece and playing?
We found ourselves mostly going out to play, but this is a choice we made also, because there are not many places you can actually play, and how many times to play in Athens or in Thessaloniki, or also we don't have Greek lyrics, which makes it even harder for us and for all the Greek bands that are like around our genre. Mostly the last years, I think hip hop and trap have taken over. I'm hoping trap will get a bit, lower now, as people seem to have started getting bored with it. The same, the pussy, the drugs, like from people that are 18 years old and their mother breastfeeds them still. Anyway, sorry, but I mean, okay. It's like you found an easy way to make money and you just do it. And okay, you make money, bravo for you. But this is not a contribution to music and art in general for me. Maybe I'm too harsh. At least trap in Greece, because trap in general and in the States and beat makings and stuff, I think are a totally different thing. Hip hop, on the other hand, is really big, I think, right now, and it's because of the situation, the social situation, I think, and the fact that people really need someone to express their problems. But also, I think this is kind of how you say it, when you are waiting for an artist to, express you, and you go to the live and you get all this out of your system, then you have no rage left for a real revolution, So it's like, okay, he said it, okay, let's go all and party for it, and we agree with him and everything, and fine, and let's do it. But then it's like, I don't know. Still, I'm very happy for hip hop. I love hip hop. I always did, rap and stuff. And they try to awake the people in their own language, so I get it. As for our scene now, I think it's going good, and more bands go out for touring, and now like that we are trying, and we announced our tour now for 2 months, and now you see bands asking you how you did this, and they want to get out.
Yeah,
but you have to be able to handle all the logistics and the problems ahead of you. If you want this, you do it. If you don't, you stay at home.
Yeah, it's as easy as that. That's awesome. And yeah, massive tour that you announced. That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm very exciting. For me that I booked it, I feel I haven't.
You did all the booking?
I did most of the booking, and with the help of Johnny, the guitarist.
Wow.
We always do it on our own, and we find help, of course, here and there. And as you grow, as you go on and meet new people, I think it gets easier in that way. But and the most important skill I think you need to have is communication and try to be a good person.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't play that good for music, I think this is the most important thing if you want to do it step by step. Because no company will come to you and tell you like in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. You play in Athens rock and roll. I want you and I will take you out to, like make you Taylor Swift or something. I mean, this is not happening anymore, at
No.
least in our music. And people don't seem maybe to get that, and I understand because they don't know that you have to get a bit, like every other work, slowly make it happen.
Yeah.
And more people listen to your music.
What has that trajectory been like for you all? When did you start seeing, I guess, listenership increase and I guess demand increase for touring and stuff? Which record did that come with?
Before I get in the band, Johnny, the guitarist, was very determined to do this. And because he saw that there were not a lot, I think like 1,000 mods, like a funeral, who was the first band. Now they don't play anymore, but it was the first band I think that went on tour. And he saw that you can do it even by yourself by putting your ass down and start sending emails like forever.
Yeah.
So he did it. He knew you have to know that you're not going to make money on the first tour.
Yeah. Yep.
It's going to be something that mostly you will be like, fuck my life. Why did I do this?
Yeah. Yep.
You just had more problems. But I wasn't on that tour, so I'm kind of lucky. And the next one, Johnny did it again. He booked it again. And it was better. And the one that we went now, me and Johnny booked it in 1 month and a half, like crazy people. And it went much more, much better.
Mm-hmm.
And now we cannot stop doing this because I love actually have an OCD. I think I love just sitting there for days and making people answer to my emails, I haven't even called their moms yet, but they are about.
Oh, that's a tactic that I should tell my bandmate. He should start calling moms. Yeah. That's fun. Yeah, there's a lot of work and thought that goes into planning shows that a lot of people don't see behind the scenes. All power to y'all for doing it DIY. That's amazing that you've been able to scale up doing it all yourself. That's incredible.
I prefer this way than the way of not knowing exactly and counting on an agency that, because by nature he won't mind as much as you mind. I mean, nobody can run your stuff more than you.
Yeah.
Of course, you get some help, and I think it's help is always welcome. Of course.
Yeah, of course.
And it's not like we're saying no to an agency or something, of course, but it's like I really like this kind of getting in touch with everything, and because then I think the show for me is better. I feel like we all worth it more, it's like, and I don't know, maybe that this is nonsense, and it would be better to have the best agency in the world and don't do anything and just write music.
Is there anything that you want to talk about circling back to Loveless and Only Shallow, or is there anything that you want to talk about in general before we sign off?
Loveless, I think that everybody should hear this album when they just want to put their thoughts away and focus in the moment. And one thing, so my advice to everybody who hopefully listen to this podcast, listen to this album.
Thank you, Amie, so much for joining me and for your song selection. I think it is a very fantastic addition to this mixtape. Very, very strong song, very strong album opener, and a fantastic album that, yes, just to reiterate what you said, everyone should give a listen and hear it in all of its shoegaze glory. Again, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, go check out Godsleep. I'm not exactly sure when this is going to air, but it'll probably be sometime around their massive European tour. So definitely go check them out live. They put on a phenomenal show, and I say that from firsthand experience.
Thanks, Ryan. Thank you so much.
As you probably know by now, I am conservative when it comes to copyright on this podcast, so you'll have to go to the official Season 1 playlist on Spotify or YouTube in order to hear Only Shallow. You can find links to those playlists as well as a transcript for the episode and show notes linking to some of the things that we talked about today. I am, however, able to share a track from Godsleep's latest record, Lies to Survive. Here's Better Days, which features a very tasty bass riff.
Of terror, betrayal runs deep, and my pure evil, it keeps you awake at night. The psychotic drowns where the mystic swims. The thirst, the hunger, the loss, the murder.
Thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard today, please rate and review the show in your favorite podcast app, as it helps other people find the show. Follow the pod on social at Let's Mixtape, and tune in next week as I talk with multidisciplinary artist Greg Deal of the band Dead Pioneers. Theme music was composed by the one and only Scotty Sandwich.